Mino Line Media presents the Business First Podcast.
Hi, all, and welcome to a new episode of Business First with Sonia Aline. I am your host, and today in studio, we have a TV and film producer who is launching a brand new, or has launched a brand new network, and her name is Tiffany Y-esha Griffin. Tiffany, welcome.
Hello, Sonia. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast today.
I'm so excited to have you here. I'm always excited to talk to creatives who want to be able to create new and inspiring content. I read that you were inspired a lot by what happened in the 90s. We all know that the 90s was kind of like a magical time creatively around hip hop, around fashion, music, and comedy. And you would like to bring all of that back. And so you created a network called the ACE Network. Tell us a little bit more about the inspiration that inspired that this work.
Absolutely, Sonia. So when I think about television and the way I used to view it growing up, it used to bring us together as a family, you know? We couldn't wait to TGI Fridays to come together and watch shows like Family Matters, and you had Cosby's, and then you had your early morning Saturday cartoons. It wasn't something that you necessarily had to put your kids out of the room for, right? Because it was fun and entertaining on an adult level, but then also had messages in it. Like Family Matters had a lot of messages in the stories that they told. So I want to bring that type of context back to where it brings us back together as a family and brings us back around a source of entertainment that everybody can enjoy.
Right. We definitely need it. Why? And you launched this year. Why did you think right now was the perfect time to do this type of programming or to present this network, I should say?
Yeah, with working in the media field for a long time, I've seen a trend over at least the last 5 to 6 years of the type of content that depicts our community, right? We see in a lot of more of the reality type shows where it kind of puts us in the light of violence. The more fights the show has, the more views it gets, the more shares it gets on social media, and just kind of the image just being branded around our culture. So I figured instead of complaining about it, I can jump on social media like anyone else and say, oh, this is a horrible video. Let me be the change that I want to see. So even though it's a road less traveled, because you can get 1 million clicks off of a fight video more than you can of someone embracing someone with a hug and uplifting them, I think it's needed. I also see the curve in media, it will come back around. My grandparents used to tell me all the time, history repeats itself. We've done this before. So it's definitely going to be a curve back to positive content. And I definitely want to be aboard of someone that's making those positive changes and actually putting the action to the words.
You're so right. Anybody who's a student of history, your grandparents were spot on. It always repeats itself. And the things that, we were excited about in the 90s, I hear more and more people feeling nostalgic about the music and the content and the movies. And so it feels like people are really ready for that type of change in the media. What are some of you? I definitely want to talk about what gets you inspired to actually create the specific content that you do. But what challenges do you face in launching this network?
I definitely run into a few. The one that's more prominent is that it is a road less traveled, right? I think with the accessibility of reality network and reality TV right now, everyone just kind of wants to get in and make something quick, and it's kind of repetitive, right? I want to date somebody. I want you to put me in a house to prove I'm the baddest. That's predominantly the type of outreach I receive, right? Produce me something like this. So with me standing ground on my business etiquette and my brand and letting everyone know, hey, that's not necessarily the type of content that we produce. I run into some challenges that way. But I think the more that we show the influence and the power of being different and of uplifting the community and our people, the more that I will be able to bring everyone along on this journey with me. Because sometimes you don't know what you want until you see it, right? And when you've seen the same thing so long, you feel like that is the it thing to do right now. You should be doing this. I get a lot of other production companies, because I work with a lot of production companies, that try to encourage me to, hey, if you produce this type of content, I'm sure you'll take off if you produce this. But I have a brand that I stand for and that I'm not going to waver off of. So that's probably one of my hardest challenges right now. Also, with it being an instant world of media, sometimes the quality and the time to create is taken out of everything. Now, anybody with an iPhone 15 is outside creating content. They're making videos, they're making shows, while we're over here buying the cinema cameras, actually writing out a script, actually trying to produce some quality that will be around for years to come. A good show or a good movie, you'll come back 13 years later and say, that was my favorite show or my favorite movie, and would still want to watch and show to your kids. So with the changes in media and the quickness of it, and also the trends currently, those are my biggest obstacles.
It's so true, because even, I was talking to someone about streaming not too long ago, and they were saying, like, particularly if you look at Netflix, like a lot of the programming that's on there are old shows, right? They're old favorite shows, and it's because the writing was really good, and because there was true creativity in the process for delivering that. It's why they're classics. It's why we can still watch them. You also want to be a full service network. So, you want to do movies and short films and videos, and there's a ton of different types of programming that you want to do. Do you have your site set on a particular genre to start?
Yeah, so our main genre is documentaries. We love informational documentaries to educate, enlighten, and uplift everyone. So that is our main genre that we would love to start with. So it's a VOD platform, video on demand platform. It's not anything with a continuous live stream, like you can say, oh, at 2:00 this comes on, or at 3:00 this comes on. The great example you used is Netflix, right? It's there anytime you'd like to receive it, with different categories so that you can go and consume what you like. But our main focus initially was documentaries. At this time, we are producing some reality-esque shows, but they are empowering, right? Either we're assisting musical artists with learning the music business. We have one that's called Street Smarts, and with the political campaigns that are going on right now, we are speaking with politicians and different representatives about educating us, right? So those are our main focuses now. Movies will be something that we will gradually get into, but these are more television series that we have currently.
Right. So you were a TV and film producer before you launched the network, but what have you learned in the process? Like, what has been either a couple of aha moments or some really nice surprises for you in this process?
I've really learned that you have to get into the business to learn the business, right? I come from corporate America, and I was a TV producer in corporate America as well. So while I'm producing for other companies, I'm thinking, okay, I can do all of this. Like, it's a piece of cake. I can walk away. I can produce it myself. You don't realize the engine you have behind you until you step away from it, right? A lot of the resources that you had that were at your fingertips, you no longer have. You are your point person. So that was a big aha moment for me when I was going into production. I'm like, okay, I need to schedule this production out. We need graphics. We need to have a casting call. We need this. And I'm looking around like, there's no one you can just send a quick IM or a quick email to say, hey, I need this content. You have to do it, and you have to find the proper staff and put the right people in the right places to be able to assist you and get this bus moving, right? So that was my biggest aha. I would just say stepping out into entrepreneurship is that you have to think about the bigger picture. You can't just be the idea person. You have to think about the background and the details and every part that goes into it. So I ran into a few problems, but I worked through them. And I would just say just to keep going through them when you hit those roadblocks, because you will, right? It's inevitable. No one really steps out and it's just perfect takeoff right away. But those are some of the biggest moments of, all right, this is what I need. Let me find the proper people to go into position to assist me with the vision that I have.
So you're originally from St. Louis.
Yes.
What was so attractive about Atlanta for you to move?
So I've already had some business dealings in Atlanta. Before I stepped into the TV production realm, I was a recording artist at that time, and I started that in St. Louis, Missouri. From St. Louis, I signed a development deal with Jive Records and worked closely with an artist at that time named Huey. When I signed that deal, I actually signed it out of Atlanta. The A&R that I worked with lived here, and they brought us here to actually start to produce the record and start to promote it and put it out. So I knew I had a lot of business connections here when it came to the entertainment industry. So to be able to leverage that, I figured it would be best for me to kind of bring myself to the area because St. Louis and Atlanta is nothing alike, right? I'm going to tell you a quick story. When I came here, I just really thought I can do what I did in St. Louis, right? I was leaving St. Louis. I had just won Female Artist of the Year. I was well known with all of the DJs and all of the news networks and things up there. And I'm like, I can do that same grind here. Atlanta's another beast, right? It's a completely another beast. Yeah, I jumped in head first, and let me say I sunk kind of to the bottom. And then I brought myself back and was like, okay, let me learn the area that I'm working with. Let me learn the community. Let me learn the people. The biggest reason I came was for my connections here, but then also Atlanta's Black Hollywood, right? It's a lot of connections and opportunities here for you to be able to grow. So I figured this would be the best place for me to plant my feet.
Wow. So, and music was your passion. What was that transition like? I'd read that you had really wanted to be a rap superstar. That was your big goal. And so how has this transition been for you to, instead of being in front of the camera and behind the mic, to really be behind the whole production?
At first, it was a little hard for me to stay behind the scenes. Like every time something would come up, I was like, I can do it. I'll just get in front of the camera and do it, right? But it's become a lot easier with the transition. I initially went to school for electronic media production. So I learned everything from camera operation to 3D animation to recording studio, being an audio engineer. I learned all of that, but I learned it more so that I would know the business as a recording artist, right? I didn't exactly know that I was going to be a TV producer. I didn't know this was going to be my lane. But I just wanted to know that if I needed a music video shot or I needed to go to someone's studio for them to record me, I would have good knowledge on what's going on. No one could tell me something costs $5,000 that's really $500. I really just wanted to know knowledge behind everything. When I came down here, and again, I told you I jumped in the fire down here and was like, I can blow up again in Atlanta. I found out that I needed some type of leverage. As an artist, we're always looked at as someone with our hands out. What do we need? Help me get a record deal. Can you help me get some music? Can you help get my music out there? Can you buy my CD? And I didn't want to be that person walking into the room saying, help me, help me, help me. I'm like, what do I have that I can also bring to the table and do good business transactions, good barter and trade with someone? And it was my video work, right? Everyone kind of wants to be on TV. Everyone wants to be in front of the camera. And I was like, well, I do good video work and I know how to edit. So that's what really got me started behind the scenes. I was working with most of the rappers here, you name them, I've probably worked with them and just doing their promotional videos or their media videos, shooting music videos for them. The more that I worked with them and I was able to bring other people's vision to light, the more that I know, I was like, I really got a niche for this and I like doing this more. I was doing it also with me as an artist, but when you're trying to be the artist, the producer, the director, it's a lot. Right. Once the more that I kind of relaxed and it's just like, I'm a good visualizer. I'm able to tell the story visually. I just found another niche for myself. So it's never like my flame died. It's like my passion is continuing to go. I just took a different exit on that highway, but I'm still on that highway.
Wow, I love that. What would you say is your creative process, or do you have one?
I do. But I would say it's not a checkbox creative process, right? My creativity comes from the community and the people around me. I really try to engulf myself in things that are going on around me, whether it's community events, whether it's entertainment events. I like to know what's happening and what's going on and what the people like. Right. So then I use that and come back and say, where's an area of opportunity for us? Because everything that I produce, I would love for it to be a message in there. Where's the area of opportunity for us in this? And let's take maybe the political route, for instance. I've gone to a lot of forums and a lot of meetings and expos where we sit down with each other within our community and explain our problems and talk about what we want to see and just listening to everything around. I'm really a fly on the wall, right? I'm a woman with few words when I'm out because I like to listen more and take it in more. So when I do speak, I can speak with knowledge. And it's not that we weren't involved in politics. It's not that we didn't care. It was like a lot of people didn't understand or didn't know. And so I'm like, well, why don't we understand or know a lot of these? Because I'll be the first to say I don't sit on like CNN and watch the news and the debates. And I'm like, well, why do we not know? Where are we lacking at? And so they brought in a few speakers and they're speaking very high level, right? And it was someone on the stage, she was speaking high level, but it was someone in the audience who would break it down for us after she said what she said. And then everybody else was like, oh, okay. And I was like, that's what we are missing. So those are the ways that I find out what do we need that can be valuable to our community just by getting into the community. Because at the end of the day, my viewers is the community. My supporters are the community. So I need to produce things that we want to see and the things that we need in our life.
I'm so glad you talked about the importance of listening. It's really an underrated skill. And I think in this environment of social media where everyone wants to have something to say, listening is a really underutilized but very important skill. Were you always that person? Were you always curious? Were you always interested in what stories people had to say or how they lived their lives or how they presented themselves?
I've always been that person, right? I've always been the friend that everyone calls with all of their problems and things that's going on because I am definitely a listener. Some people looked at it like, oh, you're a little closed off. I don't talk much. I'm not a huge talker. I just love to listen and maybe give life advice or the best advice that I can. And everybody knows I'm going to give it to them straightforward, right? If we're friends now, I'm not going to just give you the yes you want to hear. I'm the friend that's really going to talk to you. So yeah, I've always been like this girl since I was a kid.
What would you say to any young producer who feels the same way you do, right? That we need more positive messages. I'd like to see different types of stories presented. What would you say to those young producers and creatives who want to do what you're doing?
Take what you have and just do it, like Nike. That was one of the things that held me back for so long. I'm like, how can I produce this content and it's just me and I just have this one camera and a tripod? How can I do this? And I was just searching for people and I never got started. Once I actually got started, the universe brought the people to me that needed to be there with me. So don't overthink yourself. Give yourself grace and just start somewhere. Whether you start with just a conscious clip to put out that's easy for you to produce. You don't have to do a big feature film. You don't have to do a big TV series. But then also start to surround yourself around the people that are on the same wavelength as you, right? The same goals, the same thought process. Because as they see you starting to work and you're starting to produce your content, the right people will surround you. So just start. And don't overthink your process. Just start.
Yeah, I even want you to talk a little bit more about that because that is the universe really does respond to action, right? And you spend a lot, I'm raising my hand, you spend a lot of time sitting about, how's the best way to do that? Am I going to come off right? Is it going to look professional? Like, is it what people really want? And you can spend a lot of time just in your head stopping yourself. But it has happened to me every single time too. The minute I move, right? The minute I send something out or the minute that I execute something, like all of a sudden there's all of this other activity that I didn't even expect. So I would like you to talk a little bit more about that, because I always find that fascinating, because it's a real thing.
It really is. And I would think when people would say that, I'm like, oh, you're being just so cliche. Everybody says that, right? And it was so true. I was more worried about my friends and family jumping in to support me. I have been rapping and having clothing lines and doing things since 14. I was like, there's no way that my cousins and aunties and sisters and brothers don't know what I'm interested in. Why are you not passing out my flyers and hanging up posters and going, above and beyond? Because this is for all of us, right? Ultimately, your whole goal is to be able to take care of your family. And, I'm like, this is for all of us. Why aren't you supporting me? And it really messed with my head. It really messed with my head. Like, I'm not going to make it, possibly. I just started, when I say I move, I'm a strong believer in God too. But I moved by faith, not by sight. I did not see what I wanted in front of me. I did not see 11,000 followers. I didn't see all these views. I didn't see a team forming in front of me, but I kept moving, and I kept being in places and being in the rooms that I'm supposed to be in and finding my way. Networking is really the key to a lot. I kept networking and kept going regardless of who knew me. And that honestly is what made me stand out, because I started to run into people that's like, I see you everywhere and you're always by yourself. And I always see you. So it's like, well, let me introduce myself, because I've seen you at like the last 2 events where we've been at. Who are you? That by itself made me stand out, because I was determined and I wasn't going to give up. And everywhere I went, I'm shaking a hand and I'm trying to meet somebody and get another name. So it got to the point to where I might go out by myself, but 9 times out of 10, I'm going to know somebody once I get there. Right. And it's just, doors really started to open that way. I would show up with my camera to places and they were like, hey, I remember you from last time. Come on over here with me, or come in here with me. Can you take a few photos for us? And then people start to share my pictures and share my videos. So when you believe in yourself and take that faith, size of a mustard seed, now it don't take a lot. It takes faith and consistency of getting up and doing the work. Keep doing it. Somebody is going to see you. People are watching you. If you ever even look at your stories on social media, you might have 2 likes, but it says 102 views. People are watching you. They might not say nothing, but you are being watched. And just keep going, because you're motivating somebody. You're motivating somebody.
That is so cool. And it's so true. So if people are listening, because the networks are successful because people are watching them, right? Mm-hmm. Yes. What do you need us to do that are listening to you, that will follow you? Is the process that you need subscribers? Do we have to go on and log on to your site to be a registered either subscriber or viewer? What is the process to be able to support you?
Yes, I would love everyone's support. For anybody that has a Roku device, please go in and download the app. You would download it just like you would Netflix. You would go into your search bar and type in the ACE Network. It'll download an app. The app is black and white, just so you make sure you have the right one, and install it. And you would open it like any other app, and you're able to view all of the content in there. Subscribe to us. Also follow us on our social medias at the ACE Network TV. On our social medias, and that's the way you find out about casting opportunities. I also work with other production companies to produce content for the network. So let's collaborate, let's network, let's meet, and let's just support the positive change.
So if you don't have Roku, can we download? Is there anything that we can download and still be a subscriber?
Yes, you can also watch on the web, and the website is theacenetworktv.net. So you can also watch on the web there. In the fall, it will be launching on Apple TV and on Fire TV. But until then, if you don't have a Roku device, you can also watch on the web.
Okay, that's very good. And your socials are the ACE Network TV.
Yes.
Okay. All right. What's the next big thing? So you're going to be on Apple by the fall, which is pretty big. What's the next big thing for you that we should anticipate and look for?
We're currently producing the second season of Industry Ready. Industry Ready is a music-based television show where we take 6 artists through artist development. We're bringing back that art of actually developing an artist, right? Going through, what does a good contract look like? What does good stage presence look like? What does a good record sound like? With the, again, fast social media, you can blow up instantly. And I've run into a lot of people who aren't quite ready. You can't quite hold an interview or sell yourself. You just blew up really fast. And I think we wanted to bring it back a few steps and re-educate everybody and take them through the fundamentals. So we are actually producing that starting in August. That releases at the top of the year in March. So that is our next big production that we are coming out with.
Okay. Well, congratulations. I implore everyone who's listening to support you, to follow you, to subscribe. And we look forward to your continued growth and hope to hear more from you on this platform and on some others as well. Thank you so much. Tiffany Y-esha Griffin.
Thank you, Sonia, for having me. And I'll definitely keep you and your listeners posted on things that's come.
Thank you so much. And thank you all for listening. We'll be back again next week with another great guest. Take care.
The Business First podcast is hosted and produced by Sonia Aline. Executive producer Ken Johnson. Find the Business First podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, Odyssey, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, TuneIn, or wherever you get your podcast. On social media on IG at business_first_podcast. Follow the Mean Old Line Media Podcast Network on IG at Mean Old Line Media. Get the Mean Old Line Media app in the App Store or Google Play. The Business First Podcast is a Mean Old Line Media production.